Hi, I'm Andy Burk. Today we're going to be tying my new Buggy Caddis fly. It's a real simple fly, easy to tie, no expensive materials, a little bit of deer hair, some bright green hare's ear dubbing, or rabbit fur dubbing, a little bit of dark rabbit dubbing, a couple of fibers of wood duck, which are going to make our antenna, and then for the ribbing and the tag of the fly, we use pearl crystal flash. The hook is a TMC 100. We use Wapsi's Ultra Thread 140 denier. I'm going to tie a size 10. I normally tie this fly in size 14, 16, and 18. I think a 16 is probably my favorite size to fish in it, but for the video purposes, tying it on a 10 is a lot nicer. Before I start, I'm going to give the hook a smear of Dave's Flex-Cement. Start your thread and get a nice even layer down. And tie in our ribbing material and our tag material. We're going to make a little pearlescent tag on this fly. Great little trick I stole from Dave Whitlock years ago. He used to put it on. I think he still puts it on a couple of his flies, I'm sure, but works great. Take that pearl crystal flash, wrap it down the bend. I've got started right over where the barb of the hook was, wrap down the bend, and then wrap back up. And the crystal flash is just going over the bare hook shank. Catch that and tie it off. But if you put a drop of Flex-Cement on it, all of a sudden it kind of comes to life and gives a little extra sparkle. I think that sometimes that tag's a good thing to have on there. It may look like the abdomen of the adult piercing the surface film as it tries to lay eggs, so heck, why not add it in there? Notice I didn't trim off the excess, I left that in place so I can use that for my ribbing now. The excess of the crystal flash. Grab our olive green dubbing. This is a nice caddisy green color. Spin it on. Call this a Buggy Caddis, and we want it to be scruffy and shaggy. It'll work like all those little buggy fibers sticking out. You get this fly loaded down with float and it helps hold that fly on the surface. And we're just going to wrap back and forth. Caddis have a fairly plump body, so you want a nice fat little body like that. We'll wrap pearl crystal flash for our ribbing. 4 or 5 turns of that on there. Tie it off. Now we've got our abdomen's all taken care of. You don't even have to bother stacking the wing of this fly because we're going to cut it. You're not supposed to cut the tips off natural material, but in this case I think it actually adds to the effectiveness of the fly, and since I've been using this fly for quite a while and it worked, I know that the fish don't care. When I'm tying a hair wing like this, particularly a caddis wing, I'm always going to pre-trim the hair. So I'm going to measure it to length, and that's about right, and cut it short here so that all I have to tie in is that short little stub of hair like so, just right in front of the abdomen. See, and there you don't have to spend a lot of time in with your scissors trimming out little fibers and just tying it in full length. It's just a mess to trim. Cut it ahead of time and make it easy. There we go. Now once you've got your general caddis shape going, you're going to go ahead and take your scissors and just lightly trim the wing. We're not trimming it so it's all flat at the ends. Trim it to kind of a taper. You want that nice caddis taper. It really, really is a great fly, and if you've ever dealt with fish that are eating egg-laying caddis, particularly the hydropsyche species like you have on the lower Sacramento in huge numbers in the summer, the lower Sac in California, those bugs literally run across the surface to hatch, or to lay their eggs, and once they hatch they run across the surface. Fish key in on that V on the surface. But if you use a standard elk hair caddis or a standard palmered fly to imitate that, you get too big of a V. Use this fly with no hackle and a soft you know, soft dubbed body and that narrow wing, it V's on the surface just like an egg-laying caddis. I came up with this fly originally for the lower Sacramento River in California, and it works just about everywhere else I've tried it too. Also a great one to put to fish after the hatch as a wet fly. We're not going to worry about that quite yet. Now, one thing that's very prominent on caddis that you probably don't need to add on to them is the antenna. I like to add the antenna because I think it makes the fly look extra cool in your box, and I don't care if it gets chewed off by the first fish that takes it. I think it's worth it just purely for the effect of it, and it's fun to tie them in. Just grab a pair of wood duck fibers like so, and I use the split method. I hold them apart with my thumb and forefinger like that, and then I'm just going to slide them alongside the wings until they're past the length of the wings, just enough there. Capture them with a few tight turns of thread, wrap down, and there your caddis antenna are all locked in. If they're curving the wrong way, you can use the ribbon trick like you use with gift wrapping ribbon to bend them into place. You just hold your closed scissors and the fiber so you can give them a nice little wicked sweep like that. Make them look like they're all business. We're going to take some dark hare's ear dubbing. Got a little bit of Antron blended into it for sparkle, and I'm going to dub it on extremely lightly. You're barely attaching it to the thread. Carefully get that first point, that little bit we've twisted on there, and then twist the whole mess up like so. That's going to be the hackle for the fly. You got to look at every one of those little dubbing fibers that sticks out. It helps to hold the fly on the surface once it's been treated with fly float. So that's going to really add to the overall effect. Now we're not done with this thing yet. We've got a whip finish, and then we've got to brush it out a bit. The brushing is really key to increasing its flotation. I'll grab my bug brush, just hit it, and I'm brushing kind of along, kind of longitudinally, so I'm dragging fibers of dubbing to the sides of the fly, like so. That way we're getting a nice leg effect and all those fibers to catch on the surface film. Push it out. Amazing how running those brushes through the wings of the fly help meld everything together and make it look right. That's the Buggy Caddis on the side there, and the top, the antennas out of whack there, and then fish's view from below. You can see the demarcation between that nice bright green body and that darker colored thorax. Again, you're trying to trigger those fish to take. Give them little bits of contrast like that. Give them flies that act like they're real food, and you'll catch more of them. That's the Buggy Caddis. Check out more at andyburk.com, therenoflyshop.com, and keep your eyes on YouTube. We'll have a lot more videos coming out there, and then the whole world of fly tying DVD series too. Thanks. Have a good one.